Dearest gentle reader, many spoilers lie ahead. Do proceed with caution. If you somehow didn't know, Bridgerton is a Netflix original period romance series based on the novels of the same name by Julia Quinn. It follows the 8 titular Bridgerton siblings on their quests for love, and each season is dedicated to a specific sibling. It's largely known for its diverse cast, modernizing the aesthetics of the Regency era, and, of course, gratuitous amounts of what is essentially softcore porn. Season 1 is barely worth mentioning, a flaccid attempt at the fake dating trope that loses what little momentum it had halfway through the season when the characters get married. Season 2 is peak. Some of the best television I've ever seen. It's about the yearning. It's about the enemies to lovers. It's about the eldest sibling trauma. It's about Simone Ashley, the most beautiful woman in the entire world, except for every other woman on the show, who is also the most beautiful woman in the entire world. I don't know how they do it or where they find these people, but it makes me feral. Season 3, Part 1. Solid. Colin's glow up, Penelope's makeover, we've never seen anything like it. The way this man simps over this woman after one kiss? Legendary. It's the fell first, fell harder of it all. Part 1 ends with Colin begging Penelope to let him have a crush on her, finger-banging her in a carriage, and then insisting that they get married. He works in record time, even for a Bridgerton. So Bridgerton is a romance series, which means that every season hinges on whether or not the main couple will get together and have their happy ending. A lot of the time in romance, the tension is stretched across the entire story, and the couple doesn't get together until the very end. This is the case in Season 2, because Kate and Anthony don't confess their feelings for each other until the last episode, because they're dumbasses. I love them. Daphne and Simon get married halfway through Season 1, but they still have issues to resolve. Among them being that Daphne wants children and Simon doesn't, and that while the couple is very sexually attracted to each other, they have yet to realize any sort of romantic connection, because they don't have one, because they're written poorly. Colin and Penelope are engaged halfway through Season 3, so where do we go from here? Obviously, what remains is for Colin to find out that Penelope is Lady Whistledown, the anonymous gossip writer who talks shit on everyone in the ton, including Colin and his family. And because it's a romance, Colin will ultimately come to terms with Penelope's actions, forgive her for them, and love her anyway. We gotta have our happy ending. Even though the characters are already together, they can't truly be happy until Colin accepts Penelope for who she really is, and until Penelope makes a decision on her own about what she wants to do with Lady Whistledown. She says it's a form of self-empowerment, and it is, because she gets to say whatever she wants in a time when women weren't allowed to be writers. But we also know that Whistledown is kind of an expression of self-hatred as well. I mean, Penelope doesn't spare herself or her family from the gossip. Yes, it is tactical, as it throws off suspicion of herself and her family, but it can't be denied that Penelope has very low self-esteem, and it comes out in her writing. That's something else that she has to deal with in order to be happy, and subsequently to be happy with Colin. It's not exactly conducive to a healthy relationship to be constantly down on yourself and wonder why your partner, who is so out of your league, would ever deign to be with you. Unless you're Colin, thinking that about Penelope, in which case it's fine. He's a fictional character, I'm allowed to say it. So that's what I thought the main conflict of Season 3 Part 2 would be. Lady Whistledown's effect on Colin and Penelope's relationship. And, yes, but also no. In fact, mainly no. So here's the thing. Bridgerton, in addition to being a romance, is also a melodrama. And not in the, cries in Spanish kind of melodrama. I mean melodrama in the sense that the emotional stakes are the stakes. A lot of melodramas tend to be romances because romantic relationships have a significant impact on one's personal happiness, but not a whole lot of impact necessarily on the world that the characters live in. As I've mentioned previously, the stakes of every Bridgerton season is, will the characters get together and will they be happy? There's other stuff going on, of course, but that's the main focus. However, from what I can gather, the writers did not seem to think that these stakes were high enough. Now, to an extent, this attitude makes sense. Penelope being Lady Whistledown, and to an extent, the risk of her being found out, is a great opportunity for conflict. If the Ton discovers her, she'll be ruined, her family will be ruined, and assuming this takes place after she and Colin get married, he and his family will also be ruined. Admittedly, it's kind of a waste of potential not to confront this possibility in this season. I just think they did it a little too much. So there's a whole back and forth with Cressida pretending to be Whistledown and Penelope publicly refuting that claim, and then Cressida blackmailing Penelope, and then Colin trying and failing to persuade her not to do so. My god, what was that argument? My wife is so weak and pathetic and lonely, don't you feel bad for her? No, Cressida's a stone cold bitch and good for her. And then Penelope taking matters into her own hands and outing herself as Whistledown in front of God and everybody, the Queen included. And everyone's just cool with it. 'Cause of course they are. I watched this season with my friends, and when we got to the last episode, I wondered aloud, how are they going to resolve all this in one episode? And the answer, is poorly. I'm not saying that this season shouldn't have had all of the drama with Cressida and the Queen and Whistledown. I'm saying that we shouldn't have spent so much time on it at the expense of Colin and Penelope's romantic development. I also don't think everyone should have found out that Penelope was Whistledown, because what are they going to do now? It's a gossip rag. How's Penelope gonna get the gossip if everybody knows she's Whistledown? I also do not buy the idea that the Queen and everybody else wouldn't care. I mean, Penelope has ruined lives. I support women's rights and I support women's wrongs, but you know who doesn't? Regency England. Again, Penelope tries to spin Whistledown as a tool for empowerment, and it is. For her and her alone. You get the impression that Penelope started Whistledown because she didn't feel like anything else she did in life would ever matter. She probably figured if she ever was found out, it wouldn't matter because she was gonna die a spinster anyway. Whistledown has a deliciously mean-spirited voice, which isn't meant to empower anyone except the author. She also upholds and perpetuates the standards of the society that she lives in. She'll make a snarky remark about the Queen every once in a while, but beyond that, she doesn't really rock the boat. Whistledown does not exist to uplift people. It exists to talk shit and maintain the status quo. And I struggle to see how Penelope would use the column for good when doing so essentially messes with the DNA that makes up Whistledown. And most importantly, if Penelope's revealed herself as Whistledown, does that mean Julie Andrews isn't narrating in the subsequent seasons? Because that is a crime punishable by death. Now, season 3 was not without its merits. For instance, Penelope's breasts. Nicola Coughlan wasn't lying. They are objectively perfect. I loved Violet having a romantic storyline, Francesca's autistic ass finding the perfect husband for her, and then turning out to maybe be queer? ? Was not expecting that. And above all else, Benedict having a 12 to 100 hour threesome with a man and a woman, thus confirming Benedict. Honestly, the season is absolved of all sins because of this. Just kidding. As much as I enjoyed some of the subplots, there was way too much going on, which again took away time from the main couple, which is, oh yeah, the entire point of the show. In the end, despite the aforementioned gratuitous amounts of softcore porn, the finale of season 3 of Bridgerton savors of anticlimax.